Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Deepika Mehtu, and coming up in the next 1 hour. Polling for the fifth phase of Lok Sabha election concludes across 6 states and 2 union territories of India. West Bengal records highest voting percentage. Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi dies in chopper crash. Iran's Supreme Leader approves Mohammad Moqbir as interim president. India declares one-day mourning on 21st of May. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange wins permission to appeal US extradition. An unstoppable Manchester City lifts fourth EPL title, becomes the first team to win 4 straight league titles, etching history in English football. And now it's time to get you the latest on world's largest democratic elections in India. Voting for the fifth phase of India's general elections in 49 constituencies across 6 states and 2 union territories came to a close on Monday evening. 695 candidates are in the fray for 14 seats in UP, 13 in Maharashtra, 7 in West Bengal, 5 each in Bihar and Odisha, 3 in Jharkhand and 1 in Jammu and Kashmir along with Ladakh. Now, special enthusiasm was seen among young and first-time voters, especially the women voters. The prominent candidates whose fate is being decided today includes BJP leaders and union ministers Rajnath Singh, Piyush Goyal and Smriti Irani, Congress leaders Rahul Gandhi and KL Sharma, Omar Abdullah of the National Conference and Chirag Paswan of the LJP will also be looking forward towards their fate of what happens after the polling. Now, polling also took place in Odisha for the second phase of assembly elections for 35 constituencies. The next 2 phases will be held on the 25th of May and the 1st of June. And the counting of the votes will be conducted on the 4th of June. So, the fifth phase witnessed key contests in various constituencies. In Uttar Pradesh, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is contesting from Raebareli against BJP leader Dinesh Pratap Singh. From Amethi constituency, BJP leader Smriti Irani is facing Kishori Lal Sharma of Congress. In the last general election, Smriti Irani defeated Rahul Gandhi by a huge margin. BJP's Minister Rajnath Singh is seeking his third term from Lucknow seat in this election. Now, Mumbai also voted in the fifth phase of elections. Prominent personalities reached polling stations to cast their vote. Actor Anil Kapoor and Anupam Kher were among the celebrities spotted at the voting centres of the state. Musician Vishal Dadlani also took part in the Festival of Democracy. Earlier in the day, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde cast his vote at a polling booth in Thane. Bollywood actors Govinda, Dharmendra, lawmaker Hema Malini, along with her daughter Aisha Deol and singer Kailash Kher were among the early voters. And now to discuss more on this and to bring you the latest from Ground Zero, I'm joined by DD India correspondents Taposh Bhattacharya from Lucknow. I'm also joined by Gautam Roy from Ladakh and joining us would be Salman Haider from Patna. First, we have Taposh with us. A very good evening to you, Taposh. Now, the weather may not be that favourable for the voters, but did it anywhere hamper the voter turnout there, Taposh?
Well, not just the voters for us also, but yes, it did actually it played a role because it was very hot and humid, and voters stayed clear of the polling station, especially in Lucknow. We had some details until let's say 5 o'clock. and as per that, Lucknow didn't even touch 50% mark at the final. By 5 o'clock, the numbers that I had is 49.88%. So you can, I mean, obviously it will go up because we are expecting the result, the final lead to come up in any time soon, because as I can tell you, it's 6 p.m. already, and the voting has stopped in the whole of Uttar Pradesh. It started from 7 o'clock, it stopped at 6 o'clock. So we expect the voting percentage to come out anytime soon, where we have a meeting with the Chief Electoral Officer, in a half an hour from now, and we will get more detail from him. But as I mentioned, Lucknow didn't come out in a large number, partly because of the fact that it was hot and it was humid. But there are other places. For instance, you have Barabanki. It clocked 64%, over 64%, and the average of Uttar Pradesh by 5 o'clock was 55.80. So you can imagine that Barabanki and some other areas, for instance Jhansi, had 61%. So in many ways, it played a part, the heat, but also one believes that the urban population tend to stay indoor and not come out in large number, as we have seen in the past also. It has been a case in point for Lucknow for a while now.
All right, I request you to stay with us, Tapush. We have with us Gautam also. Gautam, when we talk about Ladakh, how has been the voter turnout there, and what were the operational challenges faced by the Election Commission there in Ladakh, Gautam?
Well, if you talk about the turnout, which has come out till about 5 p.m., that's 67.15%. And if you remember, in 2019, it had crossed 70% by a slight amount, and it's quite, it can be expected, but by 6 p.m., when the final figures come in, they're still being tabulated at the moment. We'll get them in a short while from now. The previous record of 2019 at least can be breached, and here the thing that is interesting is that even at 5 p.m., when the overall figure is 67.15%, Kargil, the other district department, Leh in Ladakh, has already crossed 71%, and Leh has been trying to catch up all day but has never been able to do that. It's in the range of 65% at 5 p.m. As far as the operational challenges are concerned, you all know this is the largest constituency in the country. We've been talking about that ever since we started covering this phase, the fifth phase, extensively, and it has multiple remote regions. I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble speaking. It's very windy here, barely able to stand straight. But that is the biggest challenge, and I spoke to the CEO of Ladakh as well, and they said that some of the polling parties had to be sent out 2 days in advance in helicopters of the Indian Army, and there were 25 sorties that were done to get those people at the right time in the right place for the polling to take place. And special polling stations were also set up for a small family of 5 people, 5 voters in that family in another location.
And thank you, Gautam. I request you to please stay with us. We have with us Salman Haider from Patna, Bihar. Salman, when we talk about today's polling, there were many videos before the polling day which were surfacing on how to beat the heat on the polling day for the voters. Did we see any positive impact of those videos on voter turnout today, Salman?
Due to those videos, and partly as the temperature is lesser than yesterday, 1 to 2 degree difference is there. So luckily today is somewhat cooler day. So the people came out, but as far as the percentage is concerned, 52.35% has been reported from all the 5 seats, and maximum being Muzaffarpur, where 55.30% poll has been cast, but it is not a final figure. Final figure will come out after the PC of Chief Electoral Officer of Bihar. He is going to hold a press conference here in half an hour. So as far as this phase is concerned, there is not much difference. It is not different as previous 4 phases of elections. Okay. Only 1 or 2% difference is there. Let the final figure come, then we will be able to tell if there is any
All right.
major change in percentage.
All right, we have with us Taposh. Coming back to you, when we talk about special preparations, what were the special preparations put up there, especially for female voters? Because we've seen pink booths have been allotted to many of the polling stations there. So what were the polling preparations for women in particular, Taposh?
Right, so what we have seen is that there were special models, what you call model polling stations that have been created. There were also some polling stations which were exclusively manned by the women, women people, workers, especially electoral officers. And then we also saw in each and every polling booth, special queues and special places were given, for the female voters to come and vote and to cast their vote. In fact, the one where I am right now, it had special areas where female voters can come easily and cast their vote without having to stand in a queue that generally we see. But as I mentioned, it's just not those the women voters, especially able voters. Also, they were also given a special due, and Election Commission went out of its way to make sure that this is not just a free and fair election, but it also provided justice to the all section of the society. That's something that a lot have been talked about. How India can go further up. It's been a while that Election Commission has provided free and fair election, but to go that extra mile, to go get that extra bit, to provide that comfort level to the voters, that's something that a lot of people were talking about. Even in this particular heat and humidity, we saw people, the voters were given shades, they provided waters, and ORS in the polling booth, so that if there is an emergency that turn up, they can handle that. So overall, what thumbs up to the way the Election Commission has conducted this particular phase of election, and it's not over, as mentioned earlier. Also, 41 seats still in UP. This is the 5th phase. There will be 2 more phases to go in this particular phase, and one believes that Election Commission will again roll out the same kind of courtesy that they have rolled out to the female voters. Again, as I mentioned, 41 votes are 41 parliamentary constituency will go to votes. It's very, very important for the ruling BJP to make massive inroad in that, because in this particular phase, 14 parliamentary constituency went to polls. 13 were last time won by BJP, and if BJP wants to have a say of touching the 400 magical mark that they have been talking about, it is imperative that they have a massive inroad in the 80 parliamentary constituency that UP has. The road to Delhi, the capital, goes through UP, and one who holds the maximum number of votes, maximum number of constituency in UP has the most chances of forming a government in Delhi, the center of power.
All right, thank you so much, Taposh. Now coming back to you, Gautam, when we talk about the challenges that you told that the EC had faced, putting across so many polling stations there in Ladakh, it's not an easy task. But when we talk about the issues, what were the issues that the voters were looking at this time on this day of polling, Gautam?
Well, probably not too many polling stations as such, because Ladakh doesn't really have too many voters, roughly 184,000, so 577 polling stations altogether. But it's just that the logistics of it is completely off the charts if you look at the way this work has been carried out. As far as the people's aspirations are concerned, we all know that every part of the country wants development, and in the case of Ladakh, development has to be sustainable as well. It's a highly eco-sensitive zone. It's a highly strategic area as well. On one side there's China, the other side there's POK. So all these things have to be kept in mind. The people themselves have strong aspirations. They have been, in fact, urging the government to give the kind of protections that they need to ensure that the Ladakh's progress and development is in the way that is in consonance with the kind of environment that it is in, with the kind of people that it has, which is why they have been engaged with the government as well. The union government has been engaged with them to take care of their issues and their demands in terms of 6th schedule, or even statehood, or for that matter that they want separate public service commission, or for that matter they want 2 parliamentary seats instead of 1. So all these issues, the government had been engaged with them, but then, of course, the model code of conduct came in when the elections were annulled. So that process is at the moment on halt, but I'm sure once the elections are over, there's a new government in place, that process will be resumed.
All right. Thank you so much, Gautam, for joining us and bringing us the latest. Thank you so much, Taposh, and thank you so much, Salman, for joining us from Ground Zero and bringing us the latest on the conclusion of the fifth phase of polling of the general elections. Now, the campaigning for the last two phases of India's parliamentary election continues apace, with candidates ramping up their efforts across the country. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a campaigning spree. Prime Minister Modi started his election campaign with a roadshow in Puri, followed by public meetings in Dhenkanal and Cuttack in Odisha. Later in the day, he held a public rally in Jharkhand in West Bengal. Meanwhile, Union Home Minister Amit Shah was in the North Indian state of Haryana. He held three massive rallies in Karnal, Hisar and Rohtak constituencies. Later in the evening, he will hold a public rally in national capital of New Delhi. The opposition parties are also leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters. West Bengal Chief Minister and TMC Supremo Mamata Banerjee held a public rally in Medinipur, West Bengal. It's time to take a short break here on DD India News Hour, but still to come on the other side. An exclusive conversation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the general elections. And all you need to know about maritime cooperation between India and the Philippines.
The Indian government on 15th of May granted the first batch of citizenship certificates under the Citizenship Amendment Act. The Indian government calls it historic development, ending the decades-long wait of those who faced religious persecution.
We don't need any sermons about protection of minorities. We are capable of providing protection to minorities in our neighbouring countries when the need requires.
It has proved not only that the government has fulfilled its promise to help the people who are in need as a one-time exemption that was given.
India is committed to do so. With giving first 300 citizenship certificates, India has shown that commitment, reiterated that commitment.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Now, as the country celebrates the Festival of Democracy with the fifth phase of voting that is now concluded, a large number of young and first-time voters turned out in West Bengal to cast their vote. DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal caught up with first-time voters who shared their experiences and expectations. Take a listen.
At this Festival of Democracy, I'm joined by two first-time voters who have cast their vote for the first time here in the West Bengal's Bangaon Lok Sabha constituency. How was your experience as a first-time voter?
I was very excited, and since it's my first time that I'm casting my vote for a Lok Sabha election, and it was a very nice experience, and I would request every voter to go out and vote, and let's hope for the best, and may the best person win.
Can you show your fingers? Can you show your finger too? As the youth, as the future of the country, what are the issues that you look forward to before you go and cast your vote?
I look forward to employment, better development for this country.
And women's issue have been at the top of the mind of the women of this era. As the women voter, what are the issues that you want the government that comes to power to address or to look into?
Being a woman, safety and security is definitely the most important thing, and it should be the most important priority also for every government.
Women are no less than men, and as these young voters who shape the future of the country are enthusiastically casting their vote in this particular elections here in West Bengal. With camera person PK, this is Dibyendu Mondal from Bangaon in West Bengal for DD India.
In an exclusive conversation with TT News, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke on a variety of topics. After Jagannath Darshan at Puri, a city in eastern part of India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the Constitution has been the guiding light for him to run the government. Prime Minister said he's been celebrating the Indian Constitution for a long time.
मैं डॉक्टर बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर का, मैं संविधान सभा का, उस समय सभी महापुरुषों का सर झुका करके प्रणाम करता हूं कि उन्होंने देश को ऐसा संविधान दिया कि एक चाय वाले का बेटा, एक गरीब माँ का बेटा, और मेरे देश के लोकतंत्र की ताकत देखिए कि उसने उसे प्रधानमंत्री बना दिया। मेरे लिए तो संविधान शासन चलाने का सबसे बड़ा धर्म ग्रंथ है। मेरे लिए एक राजनेता के रूप में, एक पॉलिटिकल लीडर के रूप में, एक जनप्रतिनिधि के रूप में संविधान मेरा मार्गदर्शक है और मैं उसका पुजारी हूं। और ये पूजा मैं आज से नहीं कर रहा हूं। जब संविधान के 60 साल हुए थे तो मैं पहला व्यक्ति था देश में जिसने हाथी पर संविधान रखा और संविधान की यात्रा निकाली, और मोदी सीएम था, पैदल चल रहा था।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke about the ongoing Lok Sabha elections. He said that Indian women power will propel the growth in the next 25 years, and the creation of 3 crore Lakpati Didis is a testimony to the same.
भारत की नारी शक्ति आने 25 साल में भारत की गति के लिए 2 मैं बड़े निर्णायक फैक्टर देखता हूं। एक, हिंदुस्तान का पूर्वी हिस्सा यानी उड़ीसा, हमारा झारखंड, हमारा बिहार, हमारा बंगाल, ये हिंदुस्तान का पूर्वी इलाका है, या पूर्वी उत्तर प्रदेश। ये एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर बनेगा जो ग्रोथ इंजन बनेगा। दूसरा, मेरे देश की नारी शक्ति, 50% नारी शक्ति, उनका जिस प्रकार से सामर्थ्य निकल करके आ रहा है। जब मैं कह रहा हूं मैं 3 करोड़ लखपति दीदी बनाऊंगा, तो मुझे लगता है कि मुझे कुछ नहीं करना पड़ेगा, सिर्फ अवसर देने हैं और मेरे गांव की बहनें लखपति दीदी बन के रहेगी, ये मेरा विश्वास है।
Now, slamming the opposition leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that few leaders see Prime Minister's post with power and prestige, but it is the post of responsibility.
ज्यादातर राजनेता सत्ता, पद, प्रतिष्ठा उसी के इर्द गिर्द खोए रहते हैं। मैं उससे कोसों दूर हूं। मैं मानता हूं कि पद एक कार्यभार है, पद ये प्रतिष्ठा के लिए नहीं होता है, जीवन खपाना होता है, और ये चीजें लास्ट मोमेंट नहीं करनी होती है, बहुत पहले से तैयारी करनी चाहिए। इतना बड़ा देश है, उसकी आवश्यकताओं को समझना चाहिए, उसके आधार पर नीतियां बनानी चाहिए, रणनीति बनानी चाहिए, निर्णय करने चाहिए, और तब जाकर के फैसले होते हैं, परिणाम मिलते हैं। और जब नीयत साफ होती है ना, तो नतीजे भी शानदार मिलते हैं।
Now, taking bilateral relations a step further and strengthening maritime cooperation, 3 Indian Navy ships are in the Philippines. The visit is a part of an operational deployment of the Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet to South China Sea. Indian Navy ships INS Delhi, INS Shakti and INS Kiltan arrived in Manila on Sunday, and they were accorded a warm welcome by Philippines Navy. During the visit, personnel from both the navies will engage in a wide range of professional interactions, including subject matter expert exchange, sports fixtures, cross-deck visits, cultural visits, and collaborative community outreach program. The ships will also participate in a maritime partnership exercise with the Philippines Navy. Now, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was given permission to have a full appeal over his extradition to the United States after arguing at London's High Court on Monday. In a short ruling, 2 senior judges of the High Court said that the US submissions were not sufficient and said they would allow the appeal to go ahead. In March, the court provisionally gave Assange permission to appeal on 3 grounds, but it gave the US the opportunity to provide satisfactory assurances that it would not seek the death penalty and would allow him to seek to rely on a First Amendment right to free speech in a trial. The Russian military has taken control of the village of Bilyhovrovka in the Luhansk region of Ukraine. Russia's defense ministry has issued a statement on Monday. Earlier, 6 drones have crashed onto the territory of Russia's Lavyansk oil refinery, located in Krasnodar region. Now, Russia has reported a rise in Ukrainian attacks on its territory since its forces opened a new front in northeastern Ukraine's Kharkiv region earlier this month. In an unprecedented development, Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, has requested arrest warrants from the judges of the courts for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The charges are for the crimes of causing extermination, causing starvation as a method of war, including the denial of humanitarian relief supplies, deliberately targeting civilians in conflict. Arrest warrants also applied against Hamas leaders Yahya Sinwar, Mohammad Daif and Ismail Haniyeh, and they would be charged with extermination, murder, hostage-taking, rape and sexual assault in detention. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid condemned ICC prosecutor Karim Khan's statement as a disaster on Monday and voiced hope that the US Congress would convene and condemn the ICC measure.
It's a disaster. It's a political disaster. It's a moral disaster. It cannot be that they issue arrest warrants against Netanyahu, Yahya Sinwar, Hania and Mohammad Daif after they have slaughtered us and our children on October 7. There is no such comparison. We won't accept it, and we cannot accept it. It's unforgivable. We have and we are managing a just war, and it needs to be clear that we won't stay silent. And it needs to be clear that we won't stay silent over it.
Now, while Israeli War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz on Monday denounced the seeking of arrest warrants against the country's Prime Minister and Defense Minister by the prosecutor of the ICC as a crime of historic proportion. As fighting between Hamas and Israel continues, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said that Israel intends to broaden its military operation in Rafah till the end of dismantling Hamas and recovering the hostages. Gallant was speaking in a meeting with the US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Earlier, Sullivan also held a meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and discussed fighting in Gaza, increasing humanitarian aid in the Strip and the return of Israeli hostages. And now to get us the latest, I'm joined by Sarah Coates from Tel Aviv. A very good evening from India, Sarah. What is the latest that you can fill us with ICC prosecutor Khan seeking arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Gallant?
Hello there, Deepika. Well, the Israelis are really in panic mode now, to say the very least. Furious reactions coming in after that pre-taped video message was released by the ICC Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan. Now, we do need to remember that it's not just Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, nor the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, but also 3 senior Hamas leaders. These are, of course, the leader of the Gaza Strip, Yahya Sinwar, and his deputy, Mohammad Daif, also the Politburo chief, Ismail Haniyeh. Now, furious reactions coming in from the Israelis. We've heard from the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. He says that this is baseless and that Karim Khan has crossed a red line, while another senior Israeli has come out to call this a global disgrace, a hypocritical and embarrassing on an international level. Now, we do know that the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, he is set to release a video statement about this in the coming hours, but what we can really expect to be happening now are these senior leaders like Netanyahu and Gallant to be meeting with their law teams to discuss exactly where to go now. Now, what actually this means is that if in fact these lawyers do decide to issue these arrest warrants against these Israeli leaders and these Hamas leaders, it means that if they try and set foot in any of these countries that have signed up to the International Criminal Court, then these countries are actually bound to arrest them when they set foot or if they try and set foot on their soil. So it really is very, very serious and creates a lot of headaches for the Israelis.
And also when we talk about the aid supply, is it now reaching to the people? What is the latest on that?
Well, certainly, as we've been hearing basically from every senior official that's visited the region and all of these US officials, there is simply not enough. Aid groups on the ground say that they can barely work, they cannot conduct their operations because barely any fuel has been getting into the Gaza Strip. Now, we also heard from the UN humanitarian chief, Martin Griffiths. He is warning of apocalyptic consequences if more aid doesn't come in. And I'm sure many of your viewers have seen these pictures of aid trucks that have been entering the few crossings and the few maritime areas that are open, such as this US floating pier, that when these trucks actually come in, these people are so desperate that they jump onto the side of trucks, cling into these trucks and risk their own lives trying to get supplies from these vehicles. So certainly what we're hearing from aid groups is more of these land crossings need to open. But as we do know right now, there is a large military operation going on down in the southern region of Rafah. This is the main lifeline that's been really sustaining the people of Gaza for the last few months, while the Kerem Shalom crossing has been hit by many Hamas rockets over the past week or so, and it remains closed. It's being opened sporadically, but certainly not enough aid for the people in the Strip who so desperately need it, Deepika.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us and bringing us the latest from ground zero. And now in DD India News Hour, it's time to take a look at other stories making news around the world. Following a dedicated repatriation process, 2 important bronze artifacts of Thailand have been brought back successfully. Illegally smuggled out of the country, these artifacts were in New York for decades. A formal welcoming ceremony will be held at Bangkok's National Museum on Tuesday to mark their return. Following a dedicated repatriation process, 2 important bronze artifacts of Thailand have returned successfully. Now, these were illegally smuggled out of the country, and these artifacts were in New York for decades. A formal welcoming ceremony will be held now in Bangkok. A Japanese company, Kirin Holdings, launched an electrified spoon that will enhance salty tastes without extra sodium intake. Co-developed by Meiji University professor Homei Miyashita, the spoon aims to address health issues related to high sodium intake like high blood pressure, strokes and other ailments. Time to take a short break here on DD India News Hour, but still to come. Lai Ching-te sworn in as the new president of Taiwan. And an exclusive conversation from the ongoing Cannes Film Festival from France.
The Indian government on 15th of May granted the first batch of citizenship certificates under the Citizenship Amendment Act. The Indian government calls it historic development, ending the decades-long wait of those who faced religious persecution.
We don't need any sermons about protection of minorities. We are capable of providing protection to minorities in our neighboring countries when the need requires.
It has proved not only that the government has fulfilled its promise to help the people who are in need as a one-time exemption that was given.
India is committed to do so. With giving first 300 citizenship certificates, India has shown that commitment, reiterated that commitment.
As India
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Now, polling for the 5th phase of Lok Sabha election concludes across 6 states and 2 union territories of India. West Bengal records highest voting percentage. Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi dies in chopper crash. Iran's Supreme Leader approves Mohammad Muqbir as interim president. India declares one-day mourning on 21st of May. An unstoppable Man City lifts fourth English Premier League title, becomes the first team to force straight league victories, etching history in English football. That was a quick recap of the top headlines of the hour. And now, moving on, a day after Iran President Ebrahim Raisi, along with his foreign minister, died in a helicopter crash, the government on 20th of May of India announced a one-day mourning on the 21st of May throughout the country. On Tuesday, the national flag will be flown at half-mast through India on all the buildings, and there will be no official entertainment on this day.
After hours of search amid dense fog in a mountainous region, rescuers in Iran were able to find the wreckage of the helicopter carrying Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi, Foreign Minister Hossein Amin-Abdollahian, and two top officials. With this, the worst was confirmed. All on board were killed. Raisi, who was elected as the president in 2021, was for long seen as a potential successor to the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. Before entering politics, Raisi served as the Chief Justice of Iran. His short term in office saw various breakthroughs at the international level, including the resumption of ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Tehran also became a BRICS member. Just days before his death, India and Iran signed a deal to develop the Iranian port of Chabahar. With Ebrahim Raisi's death, Mohammad Mukber has become the interim president. An election is likely to be held within 50 days. Meanwhile, tributes from global leaders have been pouring in. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that he was deeply saddened and shocked. He added that Raisi's contribution to strengthening India-Iran bilateral relationship will always be remembered. UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan said that his country stood in solidarity with Iran in this difficult time. EU Chief Charles Michel also expressed his sincere condolences. Bureau Report, DD India.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei announced 5 days of public mourning for President Ebrahim Raisi following his death in a helicopter crash and confirmed First Vice President Mohammad Mukber as interim head of country's executive branch. Iran now has a maximum period of 50 days before a presidential election that must be held to choose Raisi's successor. Iranian government convened a cabinet meeting on Monday as the country mourned the death of its president. Iran's first vice president, Mohammad Mukber, who became the interim president, also attended the meeting. Meanwhile, residents in Tehran expressed their shock over Raisi's death. They called the incident tragic.
When this happened yesterday and now this morning, when the news was confirmed, we really felt as if we lost an important support and weight.
It was really unfortunate news, not only for me but for many people in this country. After all, he is the elected president of the nation. The deceased was very active. They tried to follow up on things every day, and this saddened us more.
Now, DD News Stuart Smith joins us for more details. A very good evening to you from India, Stuart. Now, the cabinet has convened. What are the big changes that we see, and how are they going to impact the official positioning of Iran at international stage? Stuart.
So out of a concern for exactly this, continuity and stability of governance, already an acting foreign minister has been appointed. Similarly, in the regional official who died, the East Azerbaijan region official has been temporarily placed to make sure that continuity does continue. What's important to recall that in Iran, while this is the president who has died, it is not the most senior leader in Iran. That role is the supreme leader. He is still alive and absolutely fine and in control of the country. So he remains in charge, even though the president, who acts a bit more like a prime minister in Iran, has died. In the meantime, the vice president is arranging the continuity. He's already spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin, for example. They've discussed that continuity, keeping Iran moving. And also, when it comes to legislation, already the Vice President has emphasized the importance of Parliament continuing to debate, continuing to look at legislation, and continuing the policies of the now deceased President.
And also when we look at the events that are now coming up, after Lebanon, now Syria has also announced 3 days of national mourning. India has also announced a day of mourning. What more are we expecting on the process that would follow?
So 3 big things. A funeral, one of which is taking place right now in the capital city of the region where the president died. There will be a separate one, though, in his hometown to come in the next few days, also the most holy site for Islam in Iran. That will take place later. There's also an investigation, is the other thing that's very important, taking place over the next few days. That investigation will look at why this happened, why a helicopter, part of a convoy of 3, ended up crashing into the side of the mountain, and why all of these high-profile officials were in that same helicopter. The pilots commenting on this event have suggested that it's meaningful that no Mayday signal was released before that happened. That would imply that there was a sudden incident with pilots focusing on trying to maintain control while the helicopter crashed. And then the final thing is looking to the elections. We know there's 50 days according to the constitution for those to be arranged, and the vice president says the wheels are already in motion for those to happen. But what's not happening is cultural events. They, for the next 7 days, have been cancelled while that 5-day period of mourning takes place.
All right, thank you so much, Stuart, for joining us and bringing us the latest on this. Now, India and Iran established diplomatic ties in 1950s. Under President Ebrahim Raisi, relations between the two nations saw a boost due to various deals and interactions. So, India and Iran signed a 10-year pact to develop the Iranian port of Chabahar. Now, Iran officially also became a member of the BRICS Forum. Pushing for greater use of national currency, India and Iran held discussions on using rupee and rial in bilateral trade as well. Moving on, William Lai Ching-te has been sworn in as Taiwan's president on Monday, marking the start of a historic 3rd consecutive term for island's ruling Democratic Progressive Party. In his inauguration speech, Lai called for China to cease its action in Taiwan Strait and help Taiwan to maintain peace in the strait. Lai has also reiterated a call for talks with China. Beijing claims Taiwan as its own to be reunited by force if necessary.
I hope that China will face the reality of the Republic of China's existence, respect of the choices of the people of Taiwan, and in good faith choose dialogue over confrontation, exchange over containment, and under the principles of parity and dignity, engage in cooperation with the legal government chosen by Taiwan's people. This can start from the resumption of tourism on a reciprocal basis and enrollment of degree students in Taiwanese institutions. Let us together pursue peace and mutual prosperity.
Now, DD India's Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong. Take a listen.
Newly sworn-in President William Lai Ching-te gave his inaugural speech at the presidential palace in Taipei, where he said he was determined to strengthen Taiwan, but acknowledged that challenges remain. At frequent moments during his speech, there was thunderous applause, including when he said that democratic Taiwan was a global beacon. He also said that peace was the only option. He pledged that his government would retain the status quo in the Taiwan Strait. And he also called on China to stop its military and political threats on Taiwan. He called on Beijing to cooperate with his government, saying it should pursue dialogue rather than confrontation. At home, he is also facing challenges, including a divided parliament, and he acknowledged that no party had a majority in parliament and all should work together to govern as one. In attendance were officials including former US officials, as well as lawmakers from Germany, Japan, and Canada. Now, Beijing will be watching this speech closely. It has called William Lai a dangerous separatist and has also been ramping up its political as well as military pressure on Taiwan, especially in recent months. Now, one analyst told me that William Lai's call for peaceful coexistence across the Taiwan Strait would sadly fall on deaf ears in Beijing. Laura Westbrook in Hong Kong reporting for DD India.
And now in DD India News Hour, let's quickly take a look at other stories making news. The Gujarat Anti-Terrorism Squad has arrested 4 suspected ISIS terrorists at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. The ATS, in a brief note, said the 4 accused who were arrested from the airport were Sri Lankan citizens and terrorists of the Islamic State. 14 women and a man were killed and 8 others injured when a mini goods vehicle were travelling plunged into a gorge in Chhattisgarh's Kabir Dham district on Monday. 8 injured people have been admitted to the hospital. And it's time to take a short break here on DD India News Hour, but still to come. IPL playoff fixtures decided. Kolkata all set to face Hyderabad in qualifier 1. Rajasthan to go against Bengaluru in eliminator.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu.
Discover the colors of democracy.
Gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Time now to get you all the glitz and glamour from Cannes Film Festival. Oscar, BAFTA, Golden Globe and Grammy-winning music composer A.R. Rahman unveiled musical documentary called Headhunting to Beat Boxing, produced by him at the Bharat Pavilion in Cannes. The documentary is about the story of a tribe in the far northeast of India, engulfed in the depths of violence and bloodshed. The tribe resurrects itself through the healing power of music and emerges through a musical renaissance. DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya spoke to A.R. Rahman, the director and the executive producer in the government of Nagaland. Take a listen.
The makers of Headhunting to Beat Boxing, a documentary that has come out with the support of the government of Nagaland, are here with us. Music maestro, Oscar winner, A.R. Rahman doesn't need an introduction. Mr. Mehta, Mr. Meru from the government of Nagaland, they are executive producers of the documentary, and Rohit Gupta, director of the documentary. Welcome all of you to DD India. Mr. Rahman, I'll begin with you.
Producer of the documentary, I'm not doing music for this.
Yes.
I felt like it was a very compelling subject to be told to the world and very inspiring. So,
absolutely. Tell us about the support of the government of Nagaland. How did you decide to support it?
Oh, actually, we had Dr. A.R. Rahman visit us during the Hornbill Festival, the legendary Hornbill Festival, and he came up with this idea that why don't we make a film, why don't we work audio-visual, and we had to be part of it. We're very excited about it, and our Chief Minister was so excited to partner with him. So we're grateful to him, and Rohit has done a fantastic job. I think this story is going to tell a new narrative about Nagas to the world.
Yes. So how was your experience directing the documentary?
It was an incredible experience. I was like an Alice in Wonderland when I went there. So it took us 5 years to come around with this whole story. Very inspiring. The transformation is incredible. You guys have to see the film eventually to know what we've managed to capture.
Definitely. Tell us more about the kind of support that the government of Nagaland has given to this documentary.
Sir has already said a lot about the Chief Minister and what the state has done. But I really want to thank all the musicians who were part of this, as part of the whole gang, to bring out their best and to really follow Sir's vision and direction, and with Rohit's help. And I think they've done an incredible job, and that's the kind of support that that they're bringing. Of course, at the end of the day, being backed by the state is a huge encouragement and inspiration for all the young people in Nagaland.
From music to filmmaking, film production, how has the transition been? Are you enjoying it?
I think it's all part of music. Sometimes, you give back. So, people have lifted me up, and sometimes right to spot, what needs to be shown to the world to inspire. India is such a vast, multicultural, diverse kind of a place where. So I think this will put Nagaland back to the map, and we're all proud. And also it makes us commercial projects get inclusivity. In my movie, in 99 songs I'd used Shillong as a base. Part of the movie was based on Shillong, and I have this soft corner for the Northeast.
You were here for Les Masques last time around. We've also seen you walk down the red carpet. How does it feel to be back at the Bharat Pavilion?
I feel really good, and I feel really good that the Bharat Pavilion is kind of supporting this project, because it is an Indian project. It is India showing the world how to do stuff.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us on DD India. So that was a conversation with the makers of a documentary. Expectations are high since A.R. Rahman and the government of Nagaland are associated with it. With cameraman Y.K. Loknath, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Cannes for DD India.
In a remarkable turnaround in the last 10 years, India's banking sector net profit crossed around $36 billion for the first time ever. In a post on social media, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the improvement in the health of banks will help improve the credit availability to the poor, farmers and the MSMEs as well. Public sector banks generated a record around $16.8 billion in net profit during the year, which is an increase of 34% over the year ago period. During the same period, the private sector banks increased their net by 42% to nearly $20 billion. This net is approximately the total quarterly profit of all listed companies in the first 3 quarters in this fiscal year. Time now to get you all the latest from the world of sports. Manchester City won an unprecedented 4th straight English top-flight title with a 3-1 victory over West Ham United on Sunday. Phil Foden scored 2 early goals and expectant Etihad Stadium to put his side on the brink of the title before Mohamed Kudus pulled one back with a spectacular overhead kick. But Rodri struck just before the hour to restore City's 2-goal cushion, and the home side rarely looked troubled as they coasted to the victory. City, which has now won 6 titles in 7 years, stands alone as the only English team to have won 4 straight top-flight titles. Indian skipper and Mumbai Indians batter Rohit Sharma has lashed out at the broadcasters Star Sports for airing his conversations for views and engagement, despite him requesting not to do so. A recent clip of the Indian cricket team captain Rohit Sharma having a chat at the Eden Gardens with its Mumbai mate Abhishek Nair was first aired by a franchisee's social media handle. But after releasing that Rohit Sharma was possibly speaking about personal stuff that they realized that he was speaking and he wouldn't want to be known in the world, the franchisee then hastily deleted the clip. But by then the damage was done and many social media handles had picked up the audio and had aired the clip themselves. Taking to X, Rohit further stated, and I quote his statement here, "The lives of cricketers have become so intrusive that cameras are now recording every step and conversation we are having in privacy with our friends and colleagues at training or on match days. Despite asking Star Sports to not record my conversation, it was also then played on air, which is a breach of privacy. The need to get exclusive content and focused only on views and engagement will one day break the trust between the fans, cricketers and cricket," unquote. So it is now high time to realize for the broadcasters as well as the social media platforms to realize and post what they actually should and should not. Now an update on IPL's last group stage fixture now. The IPL 2024 league phase has finally come to an end with the playoff schedule to begin on Tuesday. Kolkata Knight Riders face Sunrisers Hyderabad in Qualifier 1, followed by Rajasthan Royals taking on Royal Challengers Bengaluru in Eliminator round. The winner of Qualifier 1 will get a direct berth to the finale. Meanwhile, the winner of the Eliminator will face the loser of Qualifier 1 in Qualifier 2 for the place in the finals. Rajasthan and Kolkata were the final league games of the season, but the match got washed out and Rajasthan fell from the 2nd to the 3rd position, while Kolkata Knight Riders ended the league phase in pole position with 20 points from 14 matches. In tennis, Alexander Zverev warmed up for the French Open by winning his 6th Masters title. Zverev beat first-time finalist Nicolas Jarry by 6-4 and 7-5 in the Italian Open finale on Sunday. It was the second title in Rome for the German third seed, having won his first in 2017 when he was a 20-year-old, and his first trophy since he broke his ankle in the French Open semi-finals in 2022. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika Mehto, and from all of us here in Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.